Well, I think it's working. Hopefully. Alright, let's get straight into it. So, we are playing a 1900 and what will hopefully be a good game. I had kind of hard day today, so I thought I needed a break, a little change. So I'm going to go back to our speed run, the Caro Khan. So knight c3 is not an accurate move. I don't know if it's inaccurate enough for white to be worse, but I would say white's advantage is almost entirely gone. Bishop e2. So I'm tempted to go bishop f5 because the main drawback of this move is the c2 pawn, and the reason I played knight f6 instead of bishop g4 is I just wanted to like gather a little more information on what white's setup is going to be. And now that the bishop's on e2, I'm a little less interested in going bishop g4 and a little more interested in focusing in on this main drawback. So maybe he always has to watch out for this. Okay, so he's cutting that out immediately, but that's going to cost him a tempo. And this bishop has two squares that it can go to that are kind of ideal. Also, the knight is competing for the bishop for this square. It would like to reroute. Okay, let's go here. It's the most ambitious move. We're trying to cover knight e5. This is a main resource that he has. So I'm expecting bishop g4. This move feels not accurate. This move feels bad. It's just a little bit slow. Okay. So I could hit the knight. I really do not mind him taking. That's fine with me. I have to watch c4. I'm not really threatening b2 is the thing. I mean, just castling seems very flexible. It's hard for that move to be wrong. And let's just wait and see what he does. So maybe he'll play with c4. Maybe he'll just like play like rook e1 or rook c1. Okay. I'm kind of interested in this move, just eyeballing this pawn. Could also just go here and then put the bishop back here. I think I'm going to do that. This looks like the most annoying option for him to deal with, because he still keeps all the issues in his setup, where the knight's kind of weird, the rooks doesn't make a ton of sense. The bishop could be eyeing like sacrifices, like if I have direct pressure on the knight at some point. I'm still clamping this move. It's hard for him to get. This is a main idea in his opening. And it's also hard for him to get this reroute that he wants to get. So not so easy to find a move for him. And I'm just going to go rook c8. I'm trying to play very non-combatively. We're not really trying to force anything, but I'm very aware of his ideas and his lack of ability to execute on the main ideas that he has in the opening. So I could go here. That does let him in to e5 a little bit. Okay. Really? Wow. Okay, let's just go here. So he's gonna take my bishop, but in doing so, he neutralizes this pin because I'm never ever like I actively want him to take now. And he weakened his control over d4. So he weakened the power of this pin. He eliminated the 95 resource, and he weakened control over d4. So that feels like he did get the bishop pair, but it feels pretty overwhelmingly negative to me in terms of the damage to his position. So now I have these ideas, hitting bishop takes a3 with rook takes c3, and coming to c4 and, you know, putting the pain on the dark squares. I think he's really going to hurt on the dark squares in the next coming moves. So I'm expecting this move. And then I'm going to probably go here. And then, okay, that is a terrible move. I think he's almost like losing now. And I say that because the dark squares are already weak, right? He already has all these issues on specifically dark squares. And giving away his dark square bishop feels like too much. Oh my god. So I just take that and I just go back and I don't, what's the point? Okay, I hold this, I threaten bishop h2, I'm up a piece. I don't see what the point was. Okay, maybe he's gonna go c4. Okay, I'm just gonna take that, take the knight. Yeah, that wasn't very good by my opponent. Okay, so I'm up a piece. What does he have for it? He's got 1, 2, 3, 4 pawns, 5, 6, and I've got 5. So he's got a pawn for the piece. He's got no infiltration, no rook e5, no rook e7. All the e-file squares are covered, actually. I'm really tempted to just try to mate the king. The knight is good here on c6, holding the e7 square, controlling the rook. So I don't super want to move the knight. I'm happy about how the structure is also frozen. Okay, that doesn't do anything. It does keep some pressure on the rook, but like it's very hard for him to like get rolling in the center because he just drops d4. So the knight has some utility here, covering this, freezing the center. Okay, so let's kick the queen, see where it goes. Okay. This move I have in between move. Threaten checkmate. Hold on a sec. All right, I am back. Like I said, on this move we have the in-between move, threaten checkmate. He's got to move the F pawn now. Okay, that doesn't seem to go anywhere. If I take, check, it's probably not enough. So the question I should be asking is, how do I get... Ooh, what about this move? Does that do anything? I don't know if that doesn't really do anything. Let's just go here, I guess. I don't know if that was the most accurate thing I've ever done in my life, but just accurate enough. So my idea is I want access to the b6 square. Trying to get some stability for my knight, so if he tries to get rolling, I have this check. He can push, but then I can check and check, and I figure I have to be like winning there. I'm covering the diagonal to my king, so I don't really need to worry about this check anymore. I see. And if I go here, he's gonna check me, I guess. Okay, but what if we put the pawn in a pin, hit this pawn, hit the pawn. Okay, he's got just b4. That was silly of me. He still has this annoying resource. So maybe I just go cover the resource. Yeah, looks reasonable. Okay, we're just gonna cover this. Still can't push this. He can go here, which he's going to do, so that he can play this. So I need to be ready for that. Okay, let's hit queen e2. Queen e2, here. Probably wins somehow, because I'm getting the knight in. So he is not able to push. And if I just keep light tapping, okay, I'm just gonna lightly tap. I'm threatening this move, and I'm now covering queen e5, so like that was the point of this move. I really just wanted to not have to deal with this annoying resource, because it kept showing up in every single line, and when your opponent has resources that show up very often, it's usually a good idea to cut them out. So he's getting mobile. My rook is kind of stupid here on h5. Its value is kind of predicated on the attack succeeding, which it hasn't succeeded yet. But this is very annoying for him, because he's got d4 is just hanging in a lot of lines, and a3 is hanging in the other lines, right? And then queen e3, and right, you know, this rook is very well placed. This rook is, it could be well placed. If I get one of these two checks, right, then this rook is looking like a genius, with ideas to control the h file and potentially jump in with checkmate if he goes, say, back to f1. The example line is rook d2, take, d5, check, here, checkmate. But this rook could be a bad piece. Okay, so as stated, this is a mate threat, so he has to deal with that somehow. Alright, he didn't deal with it, so that's checkmate. And I'm just gonna get some water before I analyze. All right. So that went pretty well. I do really enjoy teaching. Feel a little better. So again, if you haven't seen, this is QChess. Very good website with a very, 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 very strong engine. Much stronger than chess.com. So that's why we're inputting it here and not on chess.com. Also, I don't have a premium account. So I just got to remember everything that happened. So we played a Caro, and I played c6, and he played d4, and I played d5. Oh, oops. And he took. And then he played this move I was very critical of, knight c3. So this already has forfeited his advantage. I'm not better yet, but okay, let's turn on the Lichess database. Black is scoring very, very well. And this is kind of what John Bartholomew described as an unhappy marriage between the c-pawn and the knight, where the knight is just taking away squares. And my opponent played knight f3, and I was considering playing bishop g4 as my first move. You can see that's the top move. But I decided to play knight f6 because I wanted just a little bit more information on what my opponent was going to do. I think knight f6, bishop g5 is what he should do. Maybe you could consider bishop f4. But what he did, I think, was like actively bad, and it led to black being better. Let's see if that's correct. So he played bishop e2, which I really didn't like this move. Okay, it says white is still fine after bishop e2. It's still 0. But the reason I didn't like this move is because it takes away the e2 square from the knight. So this knight is a problem, right? We want to fix this knight and the c-pawn's bad marriage. And the traditional way to do that is to play knight e2, knight g3. But given that there's a bishop on e2 now, it becomes harder to do that. And I played bishop f5, trying to take advantage of what I felt was a drawback in the position of this c2 pawn. I see, and the computer is pointing out this move knight e5, which I did mention was a resource for white. So it's a very interesting way to try to solve the problems that white has, trying to directly take advantage of bishop f5. Because, how do I explain this? So minor pieces are good when they're developed in the game, but they're also targets. Every move has a drawback. And the drawback of bishop f5 is this is an undefended piece, and if you attack it, you can gain time. And knight e5 is an attempt to attack the bishop. What white is setting up with knight e5 is this queenside expansion with g4 first, and then f4. Say knight e5, and say I play like a move like e6. Then they're gonna have g4 here. They could potentially play f4, gluing in the knight, potentially looking to trap the bishop. And things kind of get a little uncomfortable for me. So let's see if that's true. Knight e5. It says a6. e6 is apparently quite bad. Probably because the bishop needs to retreat this way. So g4, that's correct. And yeah, bishop d7. If the bishop goes this way, it's gonna get, you're gonna get a very bad situation where h4 is gonna come in. You're gonna be forced to move this pawn, h6, and then the knight's gonna take it, and you're gonna have this very weak pawn, and you're gonna also have this other target here, like, you know, white's in complete control here. So knight e5 is a very clever way that he missed to take advantage of my move, bishop f5, and that's why the computer slightly preferred bishop g4. But okay, he didn't do that. He just castled, I believe, right? Yeah, he castled, and I played e6, and he played Did he play rook e1? I think he played rook e1. Let's just check. Pretty quick. Wait, I'm missing a tempo for him. Oh, he played a3. Yeah, this weird move. That's why I didn't remember. It doesn't make any sense. So he played a3. Again, he was afraid of knight b4 converging on c2. But it's just a little too passive to play a move like this. So I played e6, just continuing with normal development. And he castled. And I played bishop d6. Which I see the computer is not the biggest fan of. It likes constriction of this bishop. I played bishop d6 because I was afraid of knight e5. I wanted to clamp knight e5. So what is the reason that it doesn't like this? I see the only holding move is knight h4. I see, so h6 is more about preserving the bishop against knight h4, this main idea that white has, and less about stopping bishop g5. It's nice that it stops bishop g5, but it's more important to cut out knight h4 and have this retreat. Interesting. So he played knight b4, which I really didn't like this move. This was the first move where I felt like I was clearly better. I played bishop b8 because he hasn't fixed any of the problems, right? He hasn't fixed this move. Like, he's just gonna have to go back. And he went bishop g5. And I castled. So I should have, let me verify that's correct. Yeah. I should have played h6. And the reason I didn't was because I was like, oh, he's just going to trade bishops. But I wasn't really valuing this idea. And I didn't want him to trade bishops because then his increase over it, his control over e5 increases, and he might have this idea. So I was like, well, why encourage him to trade the bishops off if I want to try to prevent knight e5? But I failed to realize that, you know, this idea to collect my bishop was a main idea. And, you know, h6 solves this problem with tempo, with a gain of time. And the computer says, you know, bishop h4 isn't even very good. It's better to stay flexible with the bishop, stay central. But okay, I castled. It's, you know, it's the second best move. It's a pretty good move still. So I castled, and then he played rook c1, and I was already saying it's hard for white to find a move. It's not obvious what to do. Your position is not very good. So we played rook c1, just defending the pawn. I wasn't really sure what to do, so I played a6, and I just went back with the bishop, because I felt like white really hadn't solved any of the problems, and I could afford to just be slow. Now I'm seeing a very interesting idea to go bishop a7, which I did not consider, and go after the d4 pawn. Okay, obviously it likes h6, and it does want to go g5. Wow. Bishop h7. Interesting idea. I've never seen bishop a7. So I just wanted bishop d6. You know, basically saying, look, I'm better. I know I'm better, and it's up to you to prove, you know, what you're gonna do. It's not obvious, not clear. So we played knight h4, and this move is good because it wins my bishop, but it's bad because it loosens control over the center. So I just back up, and he takes. And I was feeling very good about this moment because there's, you know, a few problems on light squares for him. He went bishop f3, and I went queen b6. Wait, I feel like I had a rook on c1. Ah, I did have a rook on c1. Because he didn't, he went rook e1, and then rook c1, and then all this happened. Knight h4. Okay. And bishop g6. Take. Bishop f3. Queen b6. And then he played this move, which I thought was like just too much, because he's already suffering on the dark squares. All of these squares have some kind of issue on them. Like obviously this pawn is just hanging. This pawn is just hanging. This pawn could be hanging in the case of this. And, you know, I might be threatening to take and take. So he's got many issues on dark squares. And he gets rid of his dark square defender. And you see the computer is giving almost -2. It just thinks that white's like essentially lost here. And he goes crazy. You know, he sacks a bishop. I didn't really see what the point was. Okay, I played queen d8. It's saying I can grab this pawn, but sure, no reason to go on any adventures. And you play c3, and I just take the extra pawn. King g8, king g7, queen g4, rook h8, rook d8, f5, queen g3, rook h5, c4. We played the in-between move, rook h8. Saying just queen e4 is nice. Queen e4, because when we do this, and he plays f3, the e4 square is controlled, and I have to go back to d8, which I did do in the game. But if I start with queen e4, now I always have queen e3, and he can't really ever block, because he's gonna get, you know, lose a queen first and then get checkmated second. So I still have this idea, right? And if he, you know, if he attacks me, he can't without dropping this pawn. So yeah, this is an interesting idea. Didn't consider that. Queen d8. Trying to just get a little squeeze. I have to deal with this, you know, threat. So I'm trying to secure my knight a little bit and discourage this move, because now the diag opens. What did he do? He played king f2. That's a reasonable move. And I played queen b6, which maybe not such a good move. Rook h4 makes a lot of sense, locking the queen out of the game permanently, because now he does this. I play f4, and I'm taking with check. So that's pretty strong. Also, the queen is just trapped. Not only is the queen, I thought the queen was just locked out of the game. The queen is just legitimately dead. That's a great idea. So I play queen b6, trying to work my way in on the dark squares instead of rook h4. But not such a great move when he just has b4 and I have to start dealing with consequences of my actions. So I played rook e8 because I was very annoyed in my calculations by this check. So I'm just trying to cover the check. And he plays c5, trying to block the pin so he can kick my knight. Queen b5, threatening many things. Rook c2. This piece is undefended. We go attack it. He goes here. I take with initiative because I'm threatening checkmate. And my opponent did not see that, and he got checkmated. Alright. That is going to be all for today. I hope you guys learned something. It was an interesting game for me because I felt like I was working on stuff that I've wanted to work on, like being patient and building the position a little bit more. I've really gotten some quite bad positions because I failed to do that over the board recently. So it was good practice for me. And I will see